If the police was not themselves actually policing the community, what would the police be doing?
He's walking around with a badge and a stick.
If the fire department wasn't responding, you know what I'm saying,
To the fire.
what would that be?
Yeah.
If the doctors and the nurses and the engineers wasn't there to do
Right.
work, what would the hospital be?
Right.
So if the Muslims are supposed to be a resource agency, tell me what they're doing.
You're listening to the Bean Pie Chronicles podcast. So kick off your leather socks and unpin your head wrap. The Bean Pie Chronicles is now on the air.
Assalamualaikum Lama.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes. Hope all is well. As you can see, we're in a new environment. We had to step it up a little bit. We brought our much esteemed guests. For those who know and those who don't know, this is Shk.Khalid Yasin. Thanks for stopping by. You know what I'm saying? And for those who don't know, the Sheikh and I, we've known each other for quite a while. I've had the pleasure or the honor of, in my lifetime, having two primary imams, with the community. The first being Shk.Khalid Yasin, and the second being, excuse me, I had also Imam Ibrahim, so my third Imam, then I would say, was Siraj Wahaj, as everyone knows. So I've had the good fortune of being, connected closely to three of our most prominent voices in this community. So, alhamdulillah, we have Shk.Khalid Yasin today, and so, for those who don't know, let's give yourself a brief introduction and let us know, what your background is, inshallah.
But I guess the way I would identify myself is that I'm a senior American citizen of African descent, and I happen to be a Muslim. So as such, I do have my own sentiments, my own moral perceptions and experience. And I like to bring that to the table to try to make a difference in the tangible world.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. I mean, I think that's a very important, is a small, short statement, but very chock full of, tidbits. And one of the important things that we like to do here in the Bean Pie Chronicles is that the argument or the position that we're taking is that African American Muslims have our own identity and our own culture that we need to lean into and embrace and identify. So the bean pie is sort of the iconic food that is associated with African American Muslims through, the Nation of Islam moving forward and into the current day. And so, if you want to ask me who this man is, I said this man is one of the representatives or the iconic. This is one of our ulama, one of our scholars of our African American experience, and we need to, recognize our own. Everybody recognizes their own, and this is one of our own. This is one of our homegrown soldiers, as the language you like to use, to help establish what Islam, African American Islam, looks like today and what it represents. We all have the images of Malcolm and Muhammad Ali and these iconic figures. And for those that know and those that don't know, this brother is in the lineage of the African American leadership. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that in your explanation you made that distinction. And I would say, would you like? I would like you to speak on maybe the significance of that distinction.
Okay, first of all, I'm really honored to know that someone who's the age of my own children and who grew up with me, or we grew up together, sort of like, that you would have that estimation, and that you would associate me with these kinds of legendary figures. In any case, it's no mistakes. We are part of an evolutionary process from a social point of view. We are very unique. oranges and limes and citrus fruits like that. They have a relationship, but they have a very distinct makeup. And when it comes to human beings, the Quran uses the word called Urf, and it says in a verse, it said, we made you nations and tribes, and some that you were the nation and tribe of different colors and languages and distinctions, not that you would despise each other or polarize against each other, but that you would have a way of distinguishing each other. So this word, lita'arafu, that phrase, Allah built, God, Almighty God, built into every human being something very unique according to the place and time and circumstances and other kinds of things. They become unique. Maybe in the same continent, they could be still unique. So this uniqueness is something that we have a right to it. This is part of us, that uniqueness, what we call family, was inherently my relationship. So this is called Urf. And until I traveled and came in contact with other people, I didn't understand the sanctity of Urf. You must respect. You are expected to. It's normal for you and I to respect and tolerate other people's social distinctions.
Right.
You don't have to. You could just be totally oblivious and insensitive to other people.
Right.
And you could insult them, or you could see them to be lower, this and that, whatever.
Right.
But that takes away from your own level of dignity.
Right.
So this urf that we have, it's not like the same urf as Africans just because that's our descendants.
Right.
No. The people are descendants of the people who came out, stayed inside of, and they are indigenous to the continent itself. They got a different social perception, different level of traditions and things. We could take some of it, we could inherit and say we are African American because that's what my what do you call that? Test that you take? That's what my DNA, that's what my ancestry seems to suggest.
Right.
But overall, we are a mutation.
Right.
Of all the experiences we've been through and all the experiments that people did with us.
Right.
But predominantly in our psyche, in our preference, is more towards the continent than somebody else's continent.
Right. So it should be anyway.
Well, it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel that's natural for us.
Right.
That means that our presence in the United States of America, although we could be classified as black, generally, we could be classified as African American, we could be classified as colored folks, and all those kinds of things. But what makes the difference is, what makes us unique from Africans who are here in the diaspora of the United States? It's a big difference.
Right.
Because in our upbringing, generally, land wasn't even a part of our equation. We were working the land, but the land never was ours.
Right.
And even when they sharecropped and put us on the land, we was working to be on that land, but we was not still owning the land.
Right.
And even when they said that they gave us a deed to own the land, we owned the rights and access to our land.
Right.
So a lot of things go into our uniqueness.
Right.
And so for us to adopt Islam and through the lens of anybody else is an obvious disadvantage for us. Because we're not taking from our strong natural point. The strong natural point is that who we really are, not what somebody else is, who themselves are a product of Islam.
Right.
So Africans, whether they're from West Africa, East Africa, whether they're in Ethiopia, whether they're in Kenya, whether they're East Africa, whether they're in West Africa, they have a continent background. And their habits and their behaviors and their reactions and how they feel about themselves and, them really being, they can go all the way back 150, 200 generations of tradition. Well, that's obviously a big difference than just saying African American.
Right.
And then when it comes to being Americans, we're not really fully American if we ain't part of the we.
The we, the Constitution?
Yeah, the we was the all landowners.
Yeah, right.
Forget about white. It just happened to be that the landowners was primarily, we could say 95% was white. Okay. Just saying that.
Yeah.
So when they said we,
we the people.
That didn't include. That was the ones who paid the taxes, the ones that owned the land.
Right.
They was given exclusivity to themselves. But
mainly white landowners.
Well, that's it. Okay.
That's right.
So that makes us different. Because
So you're touching on a couple things, because you're touching on the African American part, that that's what makes us distinct from the Africans. And then in terms of our American, because growing up, I would say within our tradition, which is different than other traditions, there was a struggle with this American identity. I would say in my introduction to Islam came almost as a pushback, or it was like a Pan-African movement. Like, people are getting more in touch. The movie Roots made the suggestion that the early Africans were Muslims. They made that connection. People saw that as getting back to their original identity. Yeah. And so there was our un-American, or our lack of American, or inability to somewhat identify as a full-blooded citizen was, as you mentioned, came from that constitutional situation. Even when our veterans came back from World War II, World War III, World War III, World War I, World War II, different wars, they were mistreated and subjected to second-class citizenship. So the idea of us embracing this American identity, especially when we understand that there's an idea of assimilation. So we've had almost our psychosis or inability to identify fully has been forced on us. That's, I guess, the movie Roots, they call it Roots because our roots have been cut out from us. So some people have made I would say the mistake to think that Islam itself is a culture. So there's some people that are like, I'm not black, I'm Muslim. And I think that, so in identifying or trying to grasp onto what we consider Muslim culture, we would end up grabbing onto other people's,
I got it.
Yeah.
So, it's like, if you look at things from a macro point of view, we all belong to this universe. The universe has been identified, and in the universe we call the universe. In our we call it in our solar system, because the universe is vast. But the part of the universe that we are directly a part of is the solar system.
Right.
And like our solar system is part of the
Milky Way.
Milky Way.
Yeah.
And then that's a galaxy.
Right.
And the galaxy could be part of a nebula.
Right.
And it keeps going like that.
Right.
Okay. So, but what makes us unique as human beings is that we live on a planet that is the third from the sun, Earth. And it's the only planet that we understand right now that has the kind of life forms that we have. So that makes that unique. Right. So that's Earth of the planet. Right. Now, on the planet, we got north, south, east, west, all kind of climates and this. We got jungles, we got mountains. Right. That make up a distinction in people by itself. Then how they adapt the tools that they use. I mean, it's all kinds of things that make their culture, their language, their currency, their art, their expressions. This is their Urf. Now, there's a bottom of the Urf and there's a top of the Urf. Bottom of the Urf is where there's no regard for human decency, dignity, property, security, keeping things orderly, and the whole idea of holding property and the sanctity of life and all these kinds of stuff. That's like the upper side of the Urf. That's all over the world. Everybody love their family, they're precious.
So shared values.
Shared. Then you got others who have traditionally violated all them kind of rules because they just want for themselves, or maybe their people or themselves, whatever. So that's the dark part of the Urf. Right. So in that regard, we are here in this United States of America that has its own systemic culture. And if we take the high side of this being here, that's the technology, that's the freedom of movement. That's a sophistication. Like, for instance, I mean, it's like a lot of people don't understand this. But when you say Google, when you say Tesla, and when you say Microsoft, and when you say this and that, you can say about 10 different, and you never left America. Mm-hmm. It's all American. Mm-hmm. When we come to certain scientific things or whatever, it's American.
Right.
People don't even call a vacuum cleaner in their language. They do not call it vacuum cleaner. They call it Hoover. They call it Hoover. It's a brand. Now, all these brands that came from the United States, there's something unique about this country.
Correct.
We are part of that cosmic uniqueness.
Right.
But we got to find our own identity. Islam is a part of our identity. Africa is obviously a part of our identity. How we grow in our impressions is part of our identity. But certainly, this social system that we're in, I'm not talking about democracy. This social system that we are part of is a part of our uniqueness. Mm-hmm. And we got to get our part of it and become stable inside of that, because that's our protection. That's our identity. If we go outside of that, we're going to find out that we might even become vulnerable, more vulnerable than other people. Mm-hmm. You may find that as an American, you stand out in terms of your mindset, not because of where you come from, your Africanness, but just because of your disposition of being here. Because African Americans it's almost clear to everybody. In any sport that African Americans, not Africans, any sport that you drop Africans into that wasn't normally their sport, after some time they excel. You take them in let's call it like some kind of an art form. They could be brought into that art form, and somehow they have the ability to have more magnetism and draw,
right,
and whatever,
right.
They got that. So we have something inside of us as African Americans. Then with being Muslims on top, that once it matures, then we could exhibit influence in the United States of America. If we exhibit influence in the United States of America, we could exhibit influence.
So I don't want to belabor the point, but is it safe to say that at some point the conversation that we're having, was it made clear or was it known by the leadership to make that distinction? Because there was a lot of emphasis on dressing with robes and.
No, unfortunately, we wasn't mature. You see, in my social maturity has not necessarily anything to do with religion. Religion is a state of cleaning and arranging things in a good way to bring dignity and to bring balance and to bring self-esteem and you earn respect from people, because people have respect for people that are dignified and speak well and they don't cause no harm. They got good reputations. But that is not the moving force in the world. The moving force in the world is the people who themselves acquire areas, positions, industries, resources. And once they acquire those resources or that land or those areas or whatever the case might be, they could act conscientiously or they could act criminal. The fact that they got power, they can exhibit that. But the one that only has religion, they ain't got no power. They can't execute whatever they're talking about anyway. It's just a word, it's just inside their building, it's just an idea. And Islam promotes us, talking about Islam as a system. It should promote us to want to be uppermost, to be influential, to be responsible, to be accountable, to be in a position of influence, so that people sometimes acquiesce or people come to agree with you once they hear you. But if you can't get people even to hear you, how could they even really have appreciation? So my answer in this regard is that I'm going back 60 years now, right? Going back 60 years until now, those of us who are my age and those who left before me, that generation before us,
I think that they did their job. We also did our job. But not many of us who are the OGs, you want to call it, the legends or whatever you want to call it, living or dead.
Pioneers, yeah.
Not many of them had the thinking of a Garvey. Now, I know Garvey personally. I know that Garvey, Marcus Garvey, I know that he himself, he was a Pan-African. He was an intellectual. He was never poverty-stricken. And his best friend before he came here was Druse Muhammad, D-R-U-S-E. That was one of his mentors.
Yeah.
So he understood about Islam, but he wasn't predominantly coming for religion.
Right.
So if you look at his whole thing, he would appeal to Muslims today.
They'll say one God.
Yes. Okay. So, but what was his distinction? That he was coming out of Britain, a British colony, Jamaica. So that whole systemic whatever allowed him to speak. Mm-hmm. He was educated. Mm-hmm. So at that time, publishing and being black and traveling and all that for him was easy, was permitted, because he was from a British colony. Okay. So his thinking was already seeming before his time. No, it wasn't before his time.
Right. It was a man of his time.
It was a man of his time.
Yes.
Okay. So those who was in position of land and systems and resources, they saw him as an aggravation. So they schemed up on him. And so when he come, I'm just fast forward.
Yeah.
So he was a person who became the victim of a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Now, in his case, it was a soft conspiracy, where they just banned him, put him in jail under some premise of tax evasion. And then after that, put him in some kind of situation where he's what they call it.
They deported him.
Well, they deport him. Then when you get to the place where he's going, he's also put in another
like a sanction.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's
isolated.
But his thought.
Yeah.
Just to show you, his thought permeated just that short period. So most intellectual African Americans, who we would say were Negroes, they were sharecroppers, especially in the South, and they became ministers or whatever the case might be, or they became industrialists or whatever. We could say a good portion of them became Garveyites. Then, so Malcolm, his father was a Garveyite.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
His father was a minister, a Baptist minister.
Yeah.
Probably a Freemason.
Yeah.
And a Garveyite.
Right.
So Garvey's influence had nothing to do with his period of time here. But it didn't take root. It didn't really take root because it was a new kind of consciousness. But by this time where we are right now, it's a full swing.
Oh, I would agree 100%, and that's why I thought it was important that we sit down and have this conversation. So, and again, I'm not trying to belittle the point, but I wanted to stick here a little bit because I think it's important to make things clear, because I think what you were saying that because Garvey, Mike Malcolm, they were men of their times, and that made them palatable to their audience.
That's good what you said.
As opposed to trying to bring someone else's culture or adopt someone else's culture, and the mashing of culture and religion into one thing is a mistake that needs to be rectified. Because once we associate Islam with someone else's culture, whether it's the Tablighi Jamaat where we're dealing with Indians or maybe Africanism or Arabism, then we alienated Islam. And I think some of the success of the nation, happens to be that it wasn't, Brother Waltaz, Brother McLean, they looked and they spoke about issues that the people that they came to speak to could recognize.
Yeah, I got that.
Well,
I got that. Let me say this. Sometimes we don't recognize in our development our trajectory.
trajectory.
Because based on your trajectory, that's where you're going to land. So it's not like it's not rocket science of a rocket taking off from the Earth, breaking the orbit, breaking the gravitation, and then landing somewhere. It's not rocket science. It's just trajectory. Whether it's a missile on the Earth or a rocket going up, it has this arc, catches that trajectory, and it lands where it was estimated. Okay. So where we are right now is a matter of trajectory. No one could have foresaw that. It's just, I call it like the hand of God, the mind of God, the rule of God, the measure of God. We can say that that's what God designed for us. So we had to go through the womb, the adolescence. I mean, we went through the infancy, the adolescence, the young adulthood, into our mid-age, and now guys like me, we're in the twilight of our growth system. But that was necessary. That baby food that we was eating, imitating other people, you know what I'm saying, just mimicking things, and our eating just because we had a lot of energy, and we were reading, and we made mistakes, and we fell down, and we got back up, and some of us matured, and some didn't. Some people got stuck. But as we developed whatever gift that God gave to us, some of us had the ability to grow more than others because of a gift that God gave us, not because we was better. So when God gives people gifts, then they become the people of that age. So I'm not a Garveyite. I'm not a Malcolmite. I'm not a Elijahite. No, I'm not none of that. I'm respecting and honoring the influence that the better, the top end. Because all these people have what we call top end and bottom end. I don't even get into the bottom end. What somebody's personal things was, things they did which was not consistent with their.
Like why don't you? Because some people live in the bottom end.
Well, for me, I think if you want to follow people around and go inside the toilet and see what they do inside the toilets,
yeah,
you can do that. And you
right.
can do that forensically if that's your skill or your art or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, better to us to go through the top end. What is the most major benefit that this person or this institution, what have they done? And so that means that I can learn and benefit and make use of something from my enemy without being like my enemy.
In the worst aspect of it.
That's it. Because all human beings, all societies, all civilizations got a top end and a bottom end. So if you take from the top end of everybody as you're going through, at the end, you wind up mostly with good. So Allah says in the Quran, Hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al-ihsan. It's like a rhetorical question. Is there any other good other than good itself?
Yeah.
So I'd rather be preoccupied with the achievements of people as opposed to their faults and some of their inclinations and even diabolical history. Because nobody's more diabolical in the sense of the equation of being diabolical than we see in the manifestation of Western European civilization.
Yes, if you can call it that.
Anyone examining history and see who have done the most damage, undermining, conniving, scheming, horrific things, not just crimes, but horrific in the last 1,000 years in particular.
1,000 years?
No, just in the last 1,000 years in particular.
In particular.
Okay.
You can go back further.
Okay, you can go back further. But I'm just saying, then we measure it from that. Now, without saying that those who do that have a consistency, a proclivity, to doing that, without saying, and the word diabolical is what we use it, that means something which is parallel to, coming out of, connected to, Diablo. That's the devil.
That's the etymology.
That okay?
Of the word.
Okay, so now, so diabolical. Okay?
Diabolical.
So
talking about that even gets me angry because there are images, feelings, residue that comes from the thinking of that, that I'd rather keep that pot on the kettle, but keep it on simmer. You know what I'm saying? Just it's on simmer, but it's under control.
Okay.
So we African Americans, minimally, we all really, if you woke, you got to be on simmer. Because if you're not on simmer, that means somehow somebody done glossed the whole thing over to make you feel like you really in it and you above that. You don't need to get like people say, why can't you get past that? No. Me as an activist,
right,
as a woke person, right, my pot on simmer all the time. Okay, that's being like, what do they call it? It's like, we call that vigilant. When you're dealing with diabolical people, minimally you have to be what? Vigilant. That means high level, alert, guarding, protecting, because they are about undermining and taking, exploiting, all that kind of stuff like that. We don't have to say who we're talking about. Because when you throw out the images, the ones you're talking about they know you talking about them. And we know they're talking about, and the fact that it's more preeminent among Western Europeans than anybody else. Now, I mean, I'm not dismissing what China have done in their history, but they don't have the proclivity to take that out and do all the things that we see happening across the world. Nobody would have the art and the skill and the civilizational intent to do that over long periods of time with no consciousness of the effect of other people. So, having said that, if I'm in a land where I got the view of the world, I got industries right here at my fingertip, I got freedom to go to a library. I mean, I got a library card right now. I mean, I'm 79 years old, and I'm telling you, one of the most valuable cards that I got is a library card. So you can travel almost anywhere in the world, you ain't gonna find no access to no libraries.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a American privilege then.
That's Europe.
Oh, that's the Western. Okay, so you're saying that's one of the best, one of the good things.
That's one of the good things.
One of the good things.
You know, and I hope you guys don't mind me just saying something like really American privileges.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you know, I got I belong to a group, they call it Silver Sneakers. They got something called Silver Sneakers. That means that any health club you go to, or YMCA, or any kind of place like that you go to, and you tell them that you got silver sneakers. Well, then they look that up and they say, "Oh, are you 65?" I said, "Yeah, I'm 65. Matter of fact, I'm 79." Said,
right.
Oh, okay, you got golden sneakers. So what does that mean? That means I get free entrance into any health organizations that's in that circle of YMCA. You know what I'm saying? What do you call it? The Heart
network.
Association, that whole network. And so you ain't no silver sneakers nowhere else in the world. I've been to 140 countries, and there ain't no silver.
You can't walk up to the counter and say silver sneakers.
So I've been to 140 countries in the world. They ain't got no library system like they got all across the United States. So the other thing is, we take for granted, is that, you know, you can go from coast to coast and border to border in America, and we ain't talking about Alaska. We're not talking about Alaska. We're not talking about Puerto Rico. We're not talking about Hawaii. We're just talking about the continental United States itself. Is like 3,500 from New York over to California, and from Texas all the way up to Canada, like 24. So just add that up, and you see you got like about 8.2 million square miles that we can move around, and ain't nobody stopping us and say, where you going? That's unique. You can't do that in China. You can't do that in Russia. You can't do that in the Arabian countries. You can't do that in Dubai. You can't do it in Africa. You can't do that nowhere. We take that for granted. Secondly, this is what me and you doing right now. Aki, in most Muslim countries in the world, whatever their ethnicity is, you got to get a permit to do this. You can't just walk up in no studio, man, and make some stuff and be talking about the country and giving your ideas about history.
Capitalism. That's capitalism.
Well, it's not even capitalism, Aki. It's like people about ruling people's minds, controlling people's words, not allowing people to in their homes. They got beautiful homes. But they can't have no more than 10, 15 guests at any one given time, and they can't do that often. Because the system doesn't like that. The system is a system that doesn't give people the liberty to just gather together. You see people all over America just gather together, thousands of people. Wherever.
Some of them even got guns on them. You can walk around guns.
So we, African American Muslims in particular, since Islam is our scriptural description, it has something to do with our morals, some of our guidelines, some things we do, some things we don't do. Could it be our diet? Could it be our choice of our pursuit of marriage? Could be a lot of things have to do with being Muslim. But just African American people, let me give another idea, and we could talk about this a little bit more. This is to let people know both sides of the coin. Okay, to be fair, you got to do both sides of the coin. We can get a passport if you ain't commit no felony. You can get a passport and just be out, come and go like you want to. Actually, there are very few countries in the world where, first of all, getting a passport, there's countries in the world today, Muslim countries, just getting a passport to go somewhere, you got to go through a whole lot of stuff, whatever, just to get that. Then, second thing is, like traveling, your passport, maybe you can't go to certain places. But the American passport, there is no country in the world right now where the American passport is refused. That means that you and I, unless there's some other areas, we can go there, we can do business there, we could stay there according to the visas and all that kind of stuff like that, and just come back home. How many Africans can do that? No, we can do that.
So I mean, you make me think about this subject matter that comes up a lot, the idea of hijra. So as an African-American Muslim, the idea that, hey, we got to go to the Muslim lands, this is the land of the kuffar, this is the land of this, that, and the third, and there's big movements around that idea. And so what you would just explain, it kind of made me think about that. So you're saying, from your opinion, I don't want to put words in your mouth, there's some value to being an American that maybe hijra doesn't address properly.
Okay, let me come at it a different way. Because a lot of people who may be listening to us don't understand that. Oh, I'm not just your guest. We family.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so since we family.
Yes, sir.
If we wasn't family, maybe I would have to come in a little bit more academic. But since we're family, let me come at a different way.
And you made me think, because I say the word hijra, me and you know what that means. Maybe other people don't know what it means, so maybe you can explain it.
Hijra means moving away from a place where it's against the Islamic principles and going to another place that is more inclined towards the Islamic principles. That's the simplest way of saying it. Leaving from a bad place that's against everything that we believe in. They're against everything that we believe in. They're oppressing us. We can't talk. We can't gather. We can't pray. We can't observe our principles. And plus, they might be taking our property or, doing different things to us.
Like threatening your life.
So making hijra from there is to leave from there, not because it was your choice to leave. Because that's the only idea you can do to get away from this for a new opportunity. People are making hijra in that concept from all over the world to come to America. Then they find out when they get here, they might need to make hijra and go back. So this issue of hijra that was adopted by us was adopted as a sentiment. Not a strategy. Because nobody's going to make sentiment and nobody's going to make hijra and they ain't got no money. This doesn't even make any sense. You got to have money for the trip. You got to have money when you get there. And you got to make preparations. And hijra is more like it was forced even. You didn't even make a plan for hijra. The Prophet didn't make a plan for hijra. He was forced out.
He had to escape then.
He had to escape.
Yeah.
So people, you don't understand that. Okay, so now, Here in America, we're not being forced out. We might be psychologically put more pressure, conspiracy, this and that, but this is our home. If you ain't forced out and you got resources here, then other people is trying to get here to get after what you made in Hijra from. Now, in my maturity, because I was part of that idea of making Hijra, you know what I'm saying? These Catholics, we can't live with them.
Right.
they eat pork, they dance and singing, they doing this, they killing their kids, they do rape and sodomy and all kind of crazy stuff they do, gambling and drinking and killing.
Right.
All the stuff they doing, all man, I'm making Hijra from here.
Right.
But wherever you're going to make Hijra to, you find out that they've all been infected by the same virus. So you made Hijra because of the virus.
And you get over there
and you get there and you find out there's more presence of the virus there. So, okay, ethnically, you might be accepted. Even religiously, you might be accepted. But outside of that religious and ethnic circle, you're going to find out that all the businesses and all the systems and everything, the prevailing mentality and the currency is the same virus. And you'll find out that perhaps you lost, maybe you are disliked aesthetically in another place. You're disliked aesthetically, it's because you're black. Put another way, here you are socially oppressed, systemically oppressed and all that, with that whole history systemically. But when you get other places that you say is a Muslim country, aesthetically, you on the bottom of the class. You already on the bottom of that class, and you have less expression. Your social designation is even more prominent, and you'll find out that you have less tools by which to express your uniqueness, even in a Muslim country, than you would here. So this way, Hijra really means leaving from Darul Harb, leaving from the land of war and conflict to Darul Islam, to abode of peace. So if I left from New York and I went to Dubai, let's put it easy. I don't want to say Mecca and all that. Just say I just went from New York to Dubai. Now ain't no more masjids in Dubai. I would probably say there's at least got to be 2,000 mosques in Dubai.
Okay.
That means if you're in Dubai, the UAE generally, demographically, a mosque is within a 7-minute walk.
Right.
That's just the way they do it.
Right.
It's not like somebody just want to put a mosque over here, put a mosque over here. The demographics is that for somebody walking and the dawn's called, they should be able to walk to a mosque, right?
Right.
Every 7 minutes. You should check that out. So we would think that's a Muslim, we would say that Islamic country. But guess what? The only Islamic part of that whole deal is the mosque and the adhan. Outside of that,
you're in the land.
It's culture. And the culture is more restrictive of an African American than the white man.
Is that right?
Well, I'm not making no mandate against Dubai. I'm just trying to be like a realist to say.
Being realist?
I just want to say to you that, to your audience, is that,
it's our audience today, man. I'm taking that personally.
No,
today is our audience.
No, so it's okay, but it's just going to wind up in a larger audience.
So
I just want to be clear that, of course, there's some benefits in going to a Muslim country. Like, there's nobody serving pork in Dubai. So you don't got to worry, man. Restaurants is everywhere. You got to worry about pork.
Okay.
Secondly, there's no sexual provocation in public. There's no sexual, we call it perversion in public. There's no drinking of alcohol in public. There's no taking of drugs and stuff like that, trafficking in the public. There's there's nothing like that. But the undercurrent of the society is very pervasive in terms of consumption of alcohol, areas that are licensed for perverse sexual activities, Meaning it's easier to get a license for a booty club. You know, in Atlanta they call it booty clubs.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Magic City.
well, I'm saying in Atlanta they call it booty club.
Yeah, booty club.
Okay, and
you can get a license
in
to
the
open one.
UAE, where you can set it up as a massage parlor. And so the ladies who's giving massages, and in that same area they got the place where you smoke the hookah. Everything is all
figure out a way, and
so the culture permits and accepts and absorbs and licenses and all that perversive activities, drug trafficking, the commission of crimes, just like the Europeans do on the outside, all kinds of stuff like that. However, generally, when you say this is a Muslim country and no pork, the adhan is going to be called, and the culture kind of like inclines towards Islam to a great deal. If you want to learn Quran, there are teachers who can teach you the Quran. But there is absolutely nothing like freedom of speech. And just I'm saying with a capital A, there is absolutely nothing like freedom of speech. So what's more valuable? To have all the bells and whistles and aesthetics and to hear the adhan and all that, you can't speak? You can't publish?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, because I'm thinking of somebody while we're talking, and I'm like, that person that I'm thinking of might argue that, the freedom of speech is an American sort of thing, a Western value.
No. Freedom of speech, I'm not talking about from a political point of view. Ibrahim, alayhi salam, he was exclusively given permission by the Nimrod to speak, right? But Nimrod did not allow anybody else to speak. That was it. That's high level suppression.
Oppression.
That's suppression.
Suppression.
Okay?
But it's oppression as well.
Yes, it's a part of oppression, but it's different. It's in the form of suppressing.
Speech.
Not just exploiting, but just total suppression. Okay, so now, then we get to Musa, they said. The Fir'aun.
Right.
Allah told him to go to Fir'aun.
Right.
And Fir'aun allowed Musa, because he lived in his house before,
right,
to speak. But the other people, the Bani Israel, or the oppressed people, they ain't got no right to speak. So there's nothing more valuable, social value to a human being than to be able to speak without the interference of another power. So this is not exploiting and ripping you off and taking your property, and that's different. Breaking into your homes, putting you in prison, taxing you, that's different. But suppression is a basic human liberty. That's why Allah started the Quran, telling Muhammad ﷺ, what was the first word he told him? Iqra. Say, speak, read. Because inherently, that's the most power, that's where power starts at. Okay, so, and then where power winds up at, real power, it's not just to speak. It's to have sovereignty over some piece of land that way you speak it. Now, get that part together quick. To speak, and in the place where you're speaking, to have sovereignty. So now your words itself is representing what?
Power.
So what's the most valuable two things for us in this talk?
Freedom of speech and power, articulation, and to have sovereignty over
some piece of land. Now, for me, if anybody asked me, so Shk, ideally, what would you say to be our social objective? Well, I would rather use the grandfather clause. You know what that is, right? If there's another group who have done that, we should do that. So who is that?
The Mormons.
You got it. That's it. We don't have to talk no more.
So
let's put our Islam,
right.
Let's put our consciousness,
right.
Let's put where we are, and by default who we are, And let's write, let's talk, let's film, let's do whatever, let's grow our vegetables, let's have our own homes, and put it on, make the model, the proof of concept on our land. Because when you do it on your land, and you can speak about it and articulate about it, and you can film it and let the world see, then now the world can see that here's the template that African Americans, in their thinking and their uniqueness, what they represent in the world today is that they got land in America where they have developed their own systems inside that land, and they got their own access to food and to water, and they got their own answers about renewable energy, and they in the American system, and they buying land. And we just heard that there's 7 million Muslims in America, and that 2 million is African Americans, and that 200,000 of those African Americans, all of them own land.
Well, y'all heard it here first. This is the new project launching. Shk.Khalid Yasin said, "This is what we are. This we on the move. Acres of land, and with a word and a press. We need some kind of press where we could put this word out
because land is capital.
Land is capital.
Just like the ability to people to listen to your words is capital. We need social capital because we already got the feeling. We already got the training. I ain't talking about the throws or the kufis, or I'm not talking about the books or the mosque. No. That's just the gymnasiums. That's how that's the environments where we was
work out,
built up and got it all together. We have to be grateful of that. I ain't got no issues about the brothers who's wearing whatever they wearing. It's just that I'm making sure I don't get stuck. I don't want to get culturally stuck. I don't want to get ethnically stuck. I don't want to get historically stuck. I don't want to get into sentiment, the high level sentiment against. I don't want to be the high level sentiment for. No, I want to stay right there in the middle, and I want to solidify what I believe and what I'm leaving for my progeny, and what footprint that I made in America. I want to make sure that it materializes into land, because on the land it is nothing but a garden. It's my garden. It's our garden. And in America is a place where you can actually write a deed where it's recognized by the federal government, state government, all of them, that this is the sovereign property of so-and-so.
Right.
Now, sovereignty in America can be defined, and it's one of the countries that allow you to buy land and call it sovereign. You can buy land other places, but it ain't sovereign. The sovereign means something here.
Right. You say get off. You can say get off my land and have a gate around it.
Well, let me put it this way: on a macro point of view, Utah is a sovereign state. We don't call it a Mormon state, but it is a Mormon state because can't nobody become the governor of Utah being Mormon. Right. So generally, Utah is the faith or the religious system, which occupies the religious or moral scriptural sentiment, and that land, Utah, is a sovereign state among the 50 sovereign states of the United States of America. Being a sovereign state, that means that their highways, their universities, their school system, their banking system, their police systems, their legislative, their state legislatures, their hospitals, their schools, their systems, it's all Mormon-driven. And it's done without aggravation inside of the United States.
So as you saying that, alhamdulillah, I'm thinking of there's a situation going on that both of us are wearing out in Texas, where the Muslim sister rented a amusement park or water park for the Eid, and she put on a flyer Muslim only, and the governor. So it's a big brouhaha right now. And what I'm thinking, in relation to what you're saying, that whole thing would have been different if they had their own amusement park, had their own land, and been able to say, obviously this area's Muslims have.
Well, it's all right. I got that. But let me just come on. They're Muslims, so I understand the sentiment.
Yes.
Okay. But come on, you can't go to no public park and hold an event that is normally open to the public. It's owned, by a private
I think they rent it, though. I think they rented
it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just come out straight and say this is the United States of America.
Right.
You can rent a stadium.
Yeah.
But if you rent a stadium and you go tell everybody who's coming inside that stadium how they got to dress.
Right.
Now it's obviously going to come into some conflict because the predominant culture is being precluded. So you should have thought about that before when you rented that. Maybe you needed to reword it. You could say that there's something, maybe you need to make a dress code because most of the people coming to an event dealing with Muslims and Islam, I would say 80 or 90% of those who are going to come is going to be somewhat acclimated towards the sensitivity of blah, blah, blah. Right. So you don't need to say you got to wear a kufi. You don't say, well, you can't wear this, you can't wear that, or it's Muslim oriented. No. What y'all Muslims were taking over for y'all. Y'all just coming here and exclude other people.
Right.
So now you got a backlash because of the mindset you used.
Right.
So now, immigrant Muslims, that they in a second generation, but third generation immigrant Muslims, which they're Americans.
Yeah.
And these are brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But from a socially, political, strategic point of view, they missed some points when they did their flyer.
Yeah, for sure.
So now, as a result of the backlash, now they come in with what's called a reactionary plan, which is going to get you involved with litigation and all that. And you're going to still wind up where you started up before, but they ain't going to rent to nobody like you again anyway. That's just it. Is that what we want? No, we don't want that.
Right.
We want to think things out well. And if you think things out well, you can probably accomplish what you want to, at least from a scale of 1 to 10, you can get a 7 out of it. But you don't have to aggravate the society. Let me give you another. There's a picture on YouTube. It's a lot of in Manhattan of the Adhan, in this Manhattan now.
Okay.
So the Adhan is called, and you can hear it, right? Because now today, Mr. Mamdani, he said the Adhan can be called, right?
Is that right?
Yeah. So this is beautiful. Okay. So most of the taxi drivers. Yellow cab drivers is all Muslims. You can just say that 80% of all drivers are Muslims. So that's an easy way for them to drive, earn their money. Right. And they're not dealing with riba, they're not dealing with, Okay, you got it? So they showed this picture in Manhattan, like the Adhan was called, and you got guys double parked, and they couldn't get to the mosque. Look, whatever they look at it, so they just stand on top of their time. They just put their rug on the top of their car, and they praying on the roof for the brother.
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
I say that if I was the mayor or I had something to do with public protocol, I would not allow that. Just because it's an expression of your religion, because you driving that car. That car and the privilege it gives to you is not to make a display of your religion, even though that is honorable and all that, we see. No, that's traumatizing to some people. So we don't need to be traumatizing people because of our beliefs. Islam don't tell us to do that. We got to think about the general sensitivities. And man, those are Christians or the Hindus or the Buddhists or the Mias or the Deists or the Taoists or anybody. When their prayers come, we see them doing that? Just blocking a doorway or a street or a sidewalk or on top of their car, whatever. No, this is people who themselves is sincere, but they're not mature in the society where they are. Because Islam don't even need us to do that. God don't even want
You can make salat in your car.
The Prophet saw when he had the choice to do two things, he always did the one which was the easiest. Not the one that was the most vocal, not the one that's the most popular out and all that there. We don't need to impress upon nobody what time it is. And there's so many different ways that we can go and pray. Even we can sit and pray where we at. We're on a plane, we're on a boat, someplace. We can find a more dignified, conservative, non-aggravating, whatever, controversial way to express our religion.
And then call it Islamophobia.
So most what we call Islamophobia, because there's two ends of it. Islamophobia. It's the real haters, who they have been historical haters. They real Islamophobes is a planned, frontal, real, subversive
That happened for thousands of
against
years.
Islam.
Yeah,
It's been there.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's only a small percentage of people who are behind that. But there's another phobia called Muslim phobia. And that's where we make people...
I might have some of that.
where we make people afraid.
Yeah.
We make people, we fill in, we fill the profile.
Yeah.
The way we talk, the way we dress, the way we act.
Yeah.
You going to a mainstream restaurant and y'all just eat with your hands. Come on, why you eating with your hands like that? I mean, come on, I'm not saying it ain't beneficial, but it's kind of like the people all look and say, what do people do?
They ain't eating wings, they eat spaghetti.
Yeah, you got it? So we have to be practical, we have to be thoughtful, we have to be sensitive, we have to do a certain amount of, what you call it, I don't want to call it like integration in a sense. No, we got to integrate our sensitivities. It's like, for instance, if you live in LA, now you know if you live in the blue area, you know you better not go over to that red area just because you want to wear a red hat.
Right.
You want to wear red shoes. Right. You're going to get wet up, right? You know that, right? And vice versa.
Yeah.
So if we know how to do that, then we Muslims should also know in the United States of America what's going to bring aggravation.
People think that's like a conformal jihad, like a week.
Well, that's just foolishness. I mean, the Prophet was forced to fight. He didn't choose to fight. So when he was forced to fight, when a prophet don't fight, he don't instigate fight. But when a prophet is told by God to put on his armor, the prophet don't take off his armor until the battle is over.
Mm-hmm.
That's the man of a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He don't instigate the fight. He don't provoke whatever it is. But when it's time, after certain amounts of time and all that God tell the prophet to put on the armor, that prophet could be David. You understand me? That prophet could have been Suleiman. That prophet could have been Saul. At that time, Saul was a king. When he put on the armor of prophet, he don't take it off. That's the scripture. Okay? So the thing is that we don't have to demonstrate like that. I mean, it's not necessary. It's mostly culture. This is not the religion. Don't tell us to do that. Even a masjid, a building. Islam did not come to build masjids.
Well, that's news. That's everybody.
No. A masjid is like somebody plants a tree. Is there benefit? Of course. Plant a tree. It's going to be there a long time. People are going to benefit from it. That's a sadaqatun jariyah, it's called. Something that continues to give you benefit. But it's not wajib for me to plant a tree in a place where other people are living in a tree, the roots come up through the sidewalk and all that. Right. So there's places where you can't plant a tree. Would not be strategic to plant no tree. Okay, so it's not imposed upon us that masjid and Islam go together. No. There could be Islam in a society and no visibility of masjids at all.
Is that right?
Because what is a masjid? Masjid don't mean a building. See, brothers, just get it wrong. The masjid is not the building. It's the land that the building was. It's the land that was acquired for God that's going to be there perpetually. That land that was acquired for the sake of God is going to be there perpetually. And nobody can turn that into something other than a masjid because it's waqf. It's there, been determined by the will and the commitment. This is waqf. Whether there's a building on it or not, it's still waqf. Because the Prophet said, before me, other prophets were ordered by God to put a church or a temple or this. But me, God, this is a well-known hadith. Ju'ilat al-ard. This is what it says. Ju'ilat al-ard masjidan. Allah, He made Ju'ilat al-ard. He made the earth a mosque for me. Or kama qala, as He said. So now, the idea of putting up buildings where congregations of Muslims stay there and they very rarely move outside of those buildings. Where did that come from?
It's a monastery or something.
This is where Muslims find their own safe environment, which is nice. I'm in a mosque, whether it's a small place or a big place, or 150 parking lot, whatever it is. If it's 5,000 square feet or 50,000 square feet, that's beautiful. But if that mosque doesn't produce community influence commensurate to the space that it has, then there's something wrong. Because the masjid is set up for what? To serve the community, not the congregation.
Is that right?
A masjid is not there just for the congregation. No, the masjid is there, the building is there to fulfill the need and the worship of the people who wash and pray. But it's also there, more so there, as an access point for people who don't have food, and people that don't have access to clean water, and people who are not safe, and people who need charity, and people who would ordinarily not be visited, and who would be weak, and who would be deprived and disadvantaged. The mosque is there as a center of service for those people. It just happened to be Allah. He ordered that people who congregate there, for them to pray and to give so that the masjid can fulfill its objective. You got what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So it's not a building for the congregation. It's a place where the congregation comes and the building is there to help them to wash and pray and all that. But in there, they're supposed to do some actions to do what? Their presence should be felt in that whole zip code. So if we ain't doing that, then we ain't fulfilling the role of a masjid.
Wow.
All we're doing is, we're buying a building, we occupying that building, and 250 people come there for Jummah, and maybe there's 4 different Jummah prayers, and they collecting some money, but it's usually for the cultural group that built that mosque. That's what's going to happen. In most cases, 80% of the people that's going to go to that mosque is going to be from a certain ethnic, cultural group. Right. So what did they build it for? They built it for
their people.
And if you drive out 100 feet away from that on any direction, there ain't no presence of them.
Right.
That's not Islam.
Right.
If you got 6,500 masajids all over the United States of America, think about that, what kind of influence they could have. But they ain't got no more influence except their building and their parking lot. That's not the kind of Islam we want to practice. The Islam I want to practice is that, let's say I'm from New York, me and you both from New York.
Yes, sir.
So the brother say, Sheikh, why you don't move back to New York? I would love to move back to New York. There's 1 million Muslims in New York, but there's 1 million sleep Muslims, cultural Muslims, scriptural Muslims, Muslims of sentiment, Muslims with like a certain social, political, ethnic, ideological mindset. But Muslims that are industrial, professional, resourceful, influential, progressive, investors, technicians, landowners, people who part of the private sector, people who have influence, who feed, 1,000 people every month in a particular zip code, people who build clinics and hospitals and they belong to different groups and try to refine the society and all that. Where are those Muslims at? So that's our problem. I want to be a part of the progressive group of Muslims who not only are they strong in their religious or moral presence, but they're very strong in their position of resources so that they can make sure that disadvantaged people who would normally have access to certain things, they gain that access through Muslims.
Right.
So, as such, we Muslims are supposed to be the good guys.
Right.
And the resourceful guys.
Right.
And those who don't have a voice, we their voice.
Right.
And those, that would ordinarily be overlooked, we make sure, that they get something.
Right.
And then so we gain the sentiment of people even out there. What do you call that? What do you call it when somebody becomes a Muslim? It's that they don't have to convert.
They don't have to convert.
They don't have to become a Muslim.
They don't have to endorse your religion. They just these are the good guys.
They are people because we serving them.
Yes.
That's what Allah wants us to do.
Definitely.
Allah says, kuntum khayra. He calls us in the Quran, kuntum khayra. You are the people of khayr. He ain't talking about good speaking. He ain't called good looking. Khayr means that you the one that bringing the khayr back and forth to the people. Water, food, what's khayr? Water, everybody knows this is khayr. If the Muslims was only giving out water, that's one of our things that everybody know. When you find a Muslim that say, hey, how you doing? They say, who the? Oh, they Muslims, but they also the water people.
They got a bottle of water.
Everywhere they go. You see them pop the trunk, they'll speak, give it out people some water.
Right.
So they're water people. Is that a good name?
That is a good name.
Secondly, say, oh, salam alaikum. Oh, you're no Muslim, right, man? Say, you say salam alaikum, you Muslim? No. I just be going to what? They got a network of places that we ain't got no food. It's 7 o'clock at night. If it's 7 o'clock, there's about 100 places in New York that you can just walk in, show your EBT card or whatever kind of getaway card you got, or show that you're a senior citizen or whatever it is. And if you ain't got that, they still say,
got your gold, your silver sneakers.
Get you a nice bowl of soup, and they get some bread, and they got a little salad, you know what I'm saying? Got some nice tea, and it's free. And if you want some more, you can have some. And if you want to do this regular, join them. Just join them. You know what I'm saying? And they give you a little chore to do. They give you a bag, take home with you. Then they got another one. They got a pantry you go to. They just give out food. And so eventually, because they know, the city knows, the state knows, the county knows, the government knows that we the good guys. And we got all these networks, we got these spots, and we be distributing food and water, and we joined the local food bank, and all that kind of stuff like that there. Next thing, we tell all the city government, all that there, in our zip code, you ain't got to worry about nobody sleeping in no bridges and in the street. And all, no, we taking care of them. With the help of the city and the state, the county, and all that there, we going to take care of all them, because in our zip code, 0 tolerance. We don't allow nobody to be in the street like that. No, we got a crew that walks around, and if they don't want to move, it ain't our job to move. But we give them a blanket.
Right.
We got a little portable thing that we bring that they can go in there and take a little shower. You know what I'm saying? We put some clothes, and we show them where you can go we give them some coupons, go over there, and them place over there, they're going to give you some clothes, something like that. So they come to know us. When they see us, they say, Salam alaikum. Hey, Abdullah, how you doing? How's your mother? How your mother and dad? So and so and so. So after a while, all the way across America, we become known as the people who address the disadvantaged. We speak for the advocates, for the people. We give out food, we give out whatever, and medical supplies. We just be out there. Make sure the people get medical supplies. Make sure they know where resources are available to them. Show them where the clinics is at, all that. They have a place where they can go to elderly people. We got some of our young people, what they do, 2 hours or 3 hours a week, they got to go into the senior citizen places and just sit with senior citizens and bring them some tea, some coffee, some water, and talk with them. Like, I'm 12 years old, this is my 70-year-old, whatever, and I'm just doing this here. So how valuable that young people is, right? To that senior person whose family maybe only come twice a year. So if we was preoccupied doing these kind of services, then our mosques become active. But if we ain't doing that service, our mosques they're dead. On the screen, they're not dead. So what I'm essentially saying is that in a nutshell, this is thank you very much for
so we got to almost wrap it up. That's beautiful. Yes, sir.
The social value of Islam, if that's not felt, if that's not known, if that's not seen, then your presence as a Muslim is deficient. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we ain't talking no dreams. We ain't talking no big dreams. We ain't talking going to Mars or something. We're not talking about trying to bring Sharia law to the country. We're not trying to make everybody Muslim and argue with people about their religion and all that there. And essentially, when our Prophet, he said, "Khairun nas man yanfa'u lin-nas." The best of people is those that give the most benefit to other people. Check that out. The upper hand is better than the lower hand. So the hand that gives is better than the hand that gives.
Right.
Okay. Al-mu'min al-qawi, the resourceful believer, the believer that has resources, energy, property, tools, knowledge. They can influence others. So, al-mu'min al-qawi, the Muslim that is powerful, strong, not in their stature, but in their resources, is better and more beloved. What do you say? What's the two superlatives? To Allah.
Right.
Better and more beloved. Now, who don't want to do that? I want to be better and more beloved, not just a believer.
Right.
So to be better and more beloved, what's the word he used? Al-mu'min al-qawi. That the qawi here doesn't mean strong in stature. It means strong in the resources and the influence and something that everybody can recognize. You know, so a one-eyed man is the king in the land of the blind.
Right.
See? So we need to have this thinking that Islam in America is a gift. It's a responsibility. And we should not be subordinate. We shouldn't subordinate ourselves to nobody's culture, nobody's mindset, nobody else's thinking. They're just here for a green card. They're just here to get the benefits. But they ain't here to do nothing, pour nothing into American society. We're going to build a mosque. You know, we're going to have our Ramadan. We're going to go make Hajj. We're going to make money. We're going to build our mosque going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And our ethnic presence is bigger and bigger. And our culture is more and more and more. But you don't see Muslims in the United States of America even joining each other, do nothing for the disadvantage of the community because the mindset, it's not even in their mindset to do that. But Islamic mindset is about the people. It's not about me and you and our neighborhood and our building and our worship. No. All that is only validated by what you do in the actual community. So
right.
What would a policeman? What if the police was not themselves actually policing the community? What would the police be doing?
He's walking around with a badge and a stick.
If the fire department wasn't responding to the fire, what would that be?
Yeah.
If the doctors and the nurses and the engineers wasn't there to do
right.
what would the hospital be?
Right.
So if the Muslims are supposed to be a resource agency, tell me what they're doing. And every imam and every leader don't get no attitude with me. Don't be saying the Shk. No, I'm just making an assessment of yourself.
Yeah.
And your congregation should make an assessment of themselves. And then we should be honest enough to say that we got some deficiencies when it comes to our understanding of the religion. Maybe we took that from other people. So, so thank people for what they gave us, but no, I'm not going to eat the whole banana without peeling it. No, I'm not going to eat the whole mango.
Right.
No, I'm not instantly going to eat the whole apple.
Right.
No, I'm not going for that. Right. I'm going to peel it. I'm going to juice it. I'm going to do what I think is the best for me to do in the process. To get the benefit out of it. Right. But no, I ain't eating the whole thing. So that's like taking the religion from other people and swallowing the whole thing that they say.
Right.
Even if they are sincere, at best it was a guesstimate.
Right.
A guesstimate is less than an estimate.
Right.
It ain't accurate.
Right.
So how do we think that we are accurately practicing Islam when a lot of our decisions and a lot of whatever it is like knee-jerk and mindset and stamped and approved by some people from somewhere else, and the people that were stamped and approved by, they got their own estimation of us.
Right.
That would never allow us to intermarry, that would never allow us to rise to a position. We always would have to wind up being, we go back to this here, we become sort of like the lifelong Bilal.
Lifelong Bilal.
That's what they want us. And so now coming back to this issue about the bean pie,
Yeah.
I like that bean pie conference.
Yes, sir.
So bean pie is unique.
Yes, sir.
There ain't no, and bean pie was born in America.
Yes, sir.
This wasn't born in Africa.
No, sir.
Okay. And more than America, bean pie was born in Brooklyn. So I'm telling you. No. Actually, listen. We can say Manhattan because the first mosque there was Manhattan, but really Brooklyn is bigger than Manhattan.
Right.
And so when the bean pie hit Brooklyn, it found its home.
Yeah.
So when you say bean pie in New York,
you're gonna get the show bombed, man. You gonna get, not, and I don't mean physically, I mean just I can hear the comments coming in from all over.
It's okay.
Chicago, Detroit.
There's no doubt. Just if we say blues belong to black people, well, beanpie belongs to the Muslims. No doubt. So just in case we make this here public, y'all go to Apple's Bakery.
Yes, sir.
Apple's Bakery. Yes, sir. It's been there for since always, 40 years, whatever. Go there and you get the most original bean pie you're gonna get.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
Unless you gotta go to Chicago.
If you have to go to one of them other places to get bean pie, but if you want the, cream of the crop.
So we are the bean pie people.
Yes, sir.
In that sense.
Yeah.
That we are unique.
Yes.
And secondly, we are organic to a certain place.
Yes.
And we should not take somebody, Aki, what about your velvet smooth? What about the carrot cake? All that's good. We like all that.
Yeah.
But the one that could represent us the most is bean pie. That's good.
Yeah.
This is what makes us unique in that sense. So we have a mentality as African Americans that we can contribute something to the world. And we don't have to do it like what you call it.
Praise be to
There's something about us, some uniqueness about us that people start to realize. Although unfortunately, the images that the media gives is that we all slick and we dysfunctional and we wearing our wealth around our necks and we bopping heaven and we this and that and rapping and we got a lot of style and we smoking weed all the time.
Yeah.
And we drinking and we can dance and we can sing.
Right.
And when we get angry, we get really angry.
Yeah.
And we shoot up every damn body.
Yeah.
So this is the images, the donkey monkey alfalfa images that they done built up about us. Okay. But then guess what? If those of us who are civilized, those of us that are sophisticated, those of us that are dignified, those of us who are stately, those who are educated and all that, if we don't create another image to clean that off, you can't blame people for having that kind of an image.
Misconception.
Okay, so what we need to do is we need to begin to develop an image that can be digested and respected by everybody. And the thing that goes along with it is that they know that you must. That's the first thing they know. It's not like we got to apologize and introduce or go through a whole bunch of nothing. Even if they don't know all of our faith, they got respect. And when you get the respect, that's the recognition. So it's possible that when you get respect and recognition, then our leaders will be listened to. And when our leaders are listened to, hey, man, if you got a bad message, people listen and they subscribe. If you got a good message, more people will subscribe. And so that's the whole thing about what we're trying to do here, man, is get to a point where that we got a strong position of standing to be able to deliver our message. And we go back to the land, not the building, the land. Secondly, when we're traveling around, when people recognize us, keep in mind, as American Muslims, we can't own land. And when we talking, people know we own land. Okay, when you own land, you can do some of the things I was just talking about because the county, the state, all of them, we pay taxes, or even we tax exempt, whatever the case might be, but they know we got land, and because we got land, we able to do those services, and we qualify. So it all goes back to, so all the imams who's talking about Sunni, Shafi, Sufi, Salafi, Shi'i, who's into all the thing about Palestine, what's happening in Angola, and all this is stuff we can read and we can talk and become oversaturated. But if we get all the brothers together, all the OGs, all the brothers got buildings and study overseas, and they got Arabic and they can recite the Quran upside down, and they got inner sanctum, they on the golden road, they got top scholars and all that there. My question is, if you bring 1,000 of them together in one place, how much land do they own? If we don't own no land, then something's deficient there. Because Islam did not grow out of dialogue and rhetoric. Islam came out of making hijrah from one place to a piece of land. Even before the Prophet went to Medina, he sent another group to Ethiopia. And where they landed at was a kingdom. And what that king allowed them to live there because they was what? Influential. Nobody made hijrah with poor. The Prophet didn't allow nobody to leave from Mecca and go to Ethiopia, they was poor. No slaves. These are all businessmen, free people who own land, got money, make their own decisions. So when they arrived there's no welfare. They didn't apply for no welfare. They didn't ask for no. They asked for asylum, but not asylum as we understand it. They are business people. They come with money, with resources,
they're ready to contribute,
and all that there. And so they were received on the basis of that, and they lived there with honor, with compliance, with honor, making a contribution, and they was there until when they had to have the argument about the issue. They just said, "Oh, wait a minute, we love Jesus more than you. We love Jesus more than you." And listen what God said about his mother. So the king, eventually, he became sympathetic so they can stay here forever. And secondly, he became a Muslim in secret. And after that, 7 of his people became ministers. And so that's how Islam was brought into Abyssinia. Through people that were, and the Prophet, he went to Medina, like after they was in Abyssinia for about 5 or 6 years, he went to Medina, then they joined him in Medina. So there was 2 hijras. Both hijras was only for people who was able to leave from there. Okay, so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we just change our trajectory.
I think that's the idea, and we got to wrap it up. That's the idea that stuck to my mind. I wanted to close with that was, I'm glad you went back there, because the idea of trajectory, an arrow, a rocket, whatever is in motion. It doesn't just stop in the air and whatever. It's fired and it lands somewhere else. So the idea that we're in motion, meaning that you can't hold on to this particular space that you station, the position that you're on. You're going somewhere. So we need to move with that kind of thought and not be so rigid into holding on to that space, because you're no longer in flight anymore.
If you don't mind, before we close out,
yes, sir.
Give a little, brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to sell anything, but I want to give you access if you want to. We've written now we have written like 7 books, and if you're interested, go to skypurpose@gmail. That's my email.
Yes, sir.
Go to skypurpose@gmail and just send us a little kite to say that you heard this and you're interested in some of our writings, and we make that accessible to you in audio format, EPUB format, video book format. You can get some of the things that we talk about. And that will help us in where we're going in sharing this trip and sharing knowledge and cause us to be connected.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Yes, and again, before we close, we appreciate you, Shk, sitting down. We plan to do this more often. We in town together. Let's make things happen. This is just the beginning. This is like the brother said. We're in motion. Some of these ideas are very dynamic, and they need time to marinate, and they need people to come towards that. So you want to keep putting that word out there so that more people can hear it and more people can gravitate towards that, so we can make some of these things come into fruition, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
And salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Say 1, 2. This is how it happened. So Masjid was a sanctuary light. The masjid was a sanctuary light in the dark. The Imam was a visionary leaving his mark. He saw the fiends on the corners, young boys getting strung. The dealers flashing money, your poison on the tongue. Captain Sullivan had the block on a leash, collecting taxes. Nightly disturbing the peace, known for his temper. His hand was heavy, and quick his badge was a weapon. Flip another brick. Yeah.